Welcome everybody to our Dallas NUG. I think we have it spread out quite across the nation, so I don't know if Dallas really holds true still, but that's what we're going to stick with for now. Really appreciate everybody joining. We've got a great presentation for you today. Last ones we've done about 2.5 hours. We've cut it down. We know that's not really the easiest thing to pay attention to, so we wanted to give you the information that you need that will be helpful in the appropriate time period. So we'll go through kind of our agenda today, and then we'll hop right into the meetings. So for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm JP Mack, Client Success Manager with the Vested Group. And I've been working for about 3 years now and really working with our current client base and helping out any customers that are on NetSuite that could maybe use support, looking for support outside of NetSuite Direct with our invested team. So then Austin, we have presenting the Suite Commerce My Account within NetSuite. Austin had an emergency camping trip to attend to, but we really appreciate him dialing in from West Texas over in Big Bend. So really appreciate that, Austin. Kristen Squire will be going over the 2021.1 release notes. Those are always exciting to go over the highlights and make sure that you guys are all prepared for any changes that could be coming or have happened that you haven't yet experienced. And then Sam Turrell from Tesorio will be doing a presentation on cash flow forecasting as our partner of the NUG. At the end, we can do any questions. And also at the end of the meeting, please feel free to reach out with any questions, suggestions, any partners that you'd like to see in the future, any topics you'd like our team to cover. We're always open for suggestions. We want to make sure you're getting the most out of this as possible. All right. So for the NetSuite user group, we've changed one thing just to make it a little bit more consistent for your schedules. We're going to start doing the third Thursday of the last month in each quarter. So third Thursday of the third month in the quarter. So the next one would be June 17th. Location, maybe getting to the point where we can start looking at hosting it in person again. But right now we'll just keep it as TBD, and we'll continue to do the virtual because we know we have people from all over, but always great to have in-person conversations, and it'd be great to see everybody again. And like I said, you can send an email to me to sign up for our wiki site, or if any suggestions, comments, love to hear your feedback. With that, I think we'll hop in to the Suite Commerce My Account presentation by Austin.
Sounds good. Thanks, JP. Yeah, so I went ahead and pre-recorded this being out in West Texas. So the presentation itself is going to be a video, and then I'll be on here for questions post-video. So.
Hello, everybody. My name's Austin Pretch. I'm a senior consultant with the Vested Group. Today, what I'd like to do is tell you everything you need to know about Suite Commerce My Account, what it is, why it exists, and some of the key benefits it can provide your business, followed by a quick demo. First, I'd like to address the name Suite Commerce My Account. For those of you familiar, Suite Commerce is NetSuite's range of e-commerce website offerings. So perhaps a little bit confusingly, this is actually not another e-commerce website offering. Instead, it's a standalone product that allows any business provide its customers with 24/7 self-service online account management capabilities. For example, customers can convert NetSuite quotes to sales orders, place bulk orders, and pay invoices all on their own. They can also easily perform common tasks such as updating their address book, manage credit cards they have on file with you, and view their account balance or order history 24/7. Again, this works for any business, e-commerce website not required. For those of you familiar with the NetSuite Customer Center, a lot of this functionality may sound familiar. Historically, companies with NetSuite that don't have Suite Commerce utilize the Customer Center portal within NetSuite to enable their customers to do many similar tasks. However, the design of the portal leaves a lot to be desired. And in some instances, companies have purchased a Suite Commerce license solely for the My Account feature with no need at all for the e-commerce functionality, largely because Suite Commerce is highly customizable and can be branded as needed, while the Customer Center cannot. Providing My Account as its own standalone product allows companies to utilize what is one of SuiteCommerce's very best features without the added cost of a full SuiteCommerce website license. Now I'd like to jump into a quick demo. NetSuite has published several high-quality demo videos of My Account as well, from different lenses, the merchant, the customer, etc. But to keep this simple, I'll be covering what I believe are the key highlights of the product in my demo. And if you'd like a more detailed demo, then I'll leave the links to NetSuite's own videos at the end of this one. All right, so I'm here in the Vested Group's Rudy site, which is essentially our proving grounds for SuiteCommerce and SuiteCommerce Advanced website development. Just a quick note, I know there are the tabs at the top, so you got home, company, men, women, and paid. So this is actually a full-blown SuiteCommerce e-commerce website that I'm doing this in. But the My Account product that NetSuite is selling and what we're talking about today is identical to the My Account section of your standard SuiteCommerce Advanced website. So we're playing within the walled garden of the My Account feature of a full SuiteCommerce website. So anyway, I'm going to log in here as a returning customer with my email address and password. In this case, as an individual. However, companies could also log in with their company email and password, etc. If I don't already have an account, I could create one on the right with a name, email, password, and what that'll do is actually create a customer record in the back end. Fantastic. So first thing I see when I log into My Account is the Overview tab. And Overview tab provides just general visibility into some of my recent purchases. In this case, it could also be customized to show invoices. In this case, it's showing orders. And then just below that, you have some personal settings. So my profile being, name, email, phone number, my shipping address, and my payment information. And just FYI, the latter two are very fake. All right, so next I'll navigate to the purchases section going down the line and starting with the purchase history tab. So the purchase history tab lists all purchases a customer has made, as well as some supplementary information. So in this case, we have purchase number, date, amount, origin, as well as tracking information, though this can be customized to also show things like the order status, so whether that's pending fulfillment, pending billing, billed, etc. I can also click into these individually and view them if I need more detail, see what exactly I ordered. I can download a PDF. I can even request a return, all just by clicking on those individual transactions. All right, so going down the line, the next thing we have in our menu here is the returns area. And what this allows you to do is view any returns you may have already initiated. There's a date filter at the top. In this case, I haven't made any returns, so we'll skip over this. Quick call out, so these next two areas here are actually not part of the My Account, the standalone product. This is actually part of SuiteCommerce Advanced, SuiteCommerce. So we'll skip over those, but you do have the purchase history, returns, and quotes. Here on the quotes page, I can see all of my existing quotes and their status. If I click into quote number 1 here, I have a similar view to the sales order view we saw earlier, where all my line items are listed out with price, quantity, and total amount. The highlight of this tab, though, is down here in the bottom right, where I, as a customer, have the ability to convert the quote to a sales order all on my own. It looks like for this one, the sales rep still needs to approve the initial quote, but assuming that was already done, a customer has the ability to convert a quote to a sales order whenever they choose on their own, which saves everybody a lot of time. Your customer doesn't have to reach out to a sales rep in order to convert the quote to a sales order. And your sales rep doesn't have to go in NetSuite to convert the order. It just happens on its own, saving everybody a lot of time with minimal intervention from your sales reps. Lastly, down here at the bottom right, you have the ability to generate a PDF document whenever needed. So again, that's another huge time saver. If your customer requests a PDF, they can go in and just get it themselves. All right, so moving on, we will look at the billing area next. And before we go there, actually, I do want to point out the wish list section here is not part of the My Account solution that we're talking about today. That's actually part of Suite Commerce Advanced. So skipping over wish list, going straight into billing. So we'll click there, and under our account balance section, I have some really useful information. So I have a visualized bar graph of my outstanding balance against my credit limit. So it looks like I've got an available spend of $205.02. And then down here at the bottom, I can also see any credits or deposits that I could apply to a future payment, as well as some account details. Now, if we scroll down just a bit further, you can see I can continue to make a payment or print a statement on my own. And statements actually have their own section, so we'll get to that here soon. So for now, let's continue to payment. All right, so here we can see my open invoices, and I can either just choose to select all of those and pay them all at once, or in my case, I'm actually just going to do a partial payment here on invoice number 3. So I'll edit the payment, and let's just do $50. I could also add an additional card if needed, and let's hope this works. Security number. All right, well, assuming you know how to use your credit card, this is the point where you would make the payment. You get the idea. All right, next we'll move on to the invoices section, where I can see all of my invoices. In this view, I have the open invoices. However, I can also switch it to invoices that I've already paid in full. Just like the account balance page, you can also make payments here on the invoices page. So you have the select all functionality to then click on the make a payment button here, where you can edit the payments on an individual invoice. But having just demoed this, we'll hit the back button. One thing I do like about this page is it flags the past due invoices with a red flag, which is just kind of a cool feature. All right, so back here on our billing section, the transaction history tab is pretty simple. It just lists the transactions that I have incurred as a customer. So these are just generally going to be payments and credit memos in NetSuite. I'd like to spend more time on the next item here, print a statement. So we'll click into that. And much like the NetSuite ERP, if you're used to the generate a statement page, I have the ability to select a statement date or optionally a start date. And then also I can choose to print the statement in the customer's locale, show only open transactions, and I can make it a consolidated statement as well. So from there I can download it as a PDF or email it to myself or whoever I need to email it to as a customer. And there we go. So this is, again, another huge time saver. All right, next in line we have the Settings tab, where I as a customer can manage basic user settings. Customers can update their contact information, payment methods, and their password all on their own. And not to beat a dead horse, but this is again a huge time saver since customers won't be contacting your customer support department for trivial tasks like these. So last in the list here is the cases section. So if I as a customer have a question about an order, how to use a product, or a product is received and it's damaged or incorrect, I can easily submit questions or issues about those products via a case. On the support cases section I've just clicked into, I can see existing cases. And if I click into this case 116, I can see my original message, Joe's response, and I can actually reply straight back to Joe all on the same page here. And of course we can submit a new case as well. So I can type out a subject, select a type of inquiry, so question, concern, problem, and then of course type out a message. And if I choose to do so, I can also use another email address for this case if needed. So that's all sent straight to the NetSuite case queue. To conclude, I just wanted to reflect on some of the highlights I see with my account. So first and foremost, the fact that it's highly customizable and has a very slick user interface. Having the ability to apply custom themes and branding to an account center like this is huge for many companies. The fact that it allows extensions, the ability to add simple landing pages, and even have a custom domain is all pretty great stuff. And because it allows your customers to do so much on their own, there's a good chance you'll not only save time, but money in the long run. And if you've ever been interested in case management but haven't yet implemented it, this is a great way to start.
All right, so that's the show. Does anybody have any questions about my account? Haven't seen the video or?
And if you have any questions, you can go to the bottom and there's a Q&A section that we can actively monitor as well.
Austin, I didn't see much of my account that is B2B transaction focused. Primarily, how would they pay with terms, or would a customer do a self-serve quotation? I'm not sure that my account has the ability to do a self-serve quote. I could be wrong about that. I think I'll need to follow up on that. There may be ability, but in the documentation I've seen, I don't think the customers have the ability to do that.
Bill, we'll follow up with you on that.
Yeah.
After the meeting, and if Austin makes it back home alive in the
So,
wild.
does my account allow any customization, like adding a saved search or report? It is highly customizable, and I imagine there is a way to add saved searches and reports and just like in a display method. I know you can do that with the customer center, and I see this as a more customizable version of the customer center. So I would say yes.
Well, Austin, that was awesome. Really appreciate you doing that.
Good deal.
Enjoy your vacation. And we'll keep track if there's any questions that come along and make sure everyone's responded to. But yeah, once again, really appreciate it, Austin.
Happy to do it. Thank you.
But Kristen's going to give a presentation on the 2021.1 release notes.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so every year, twice a year, we have new release upgrades within NetSuite, and we are now at 2021.1. And my presentation will conclude the top highlights of what I've already read through and what I feel most of you clients have reached out with in questions over the past years through cases and that sort of thing. So we can jump right in. So we're going to cover the release preview portlet that most of you probably already have on your dashboard. Different enhancements to the accounting module, different enhancements to vendors and purchasing, banking, and then inventory management, order management, and user interface. So I try to hit at least one highlight from every category covered within the release notes preview. So to start off, on your home screen, you have your main dashboard page. And I believe many of you already have this portlet added, but if you don't, this can be added pretty easily with help of your admin and getting this on your page. So what this allows you is you have these different topics here where you have a whole release notes preview guide to kind of gear up for the next upgrade. This one's coming very soon. And it talks about all the new features, all the new enhancements, and then there's even like a preview guide that will help you kind of coordinate your steps for testing. So this is awesome because it's right here on your dashboard in front of your face, and if you have that downtime during the day, you can kind of go through and read through these. Step 2 would be in your login, if you currently have access to production and sandbox, over here on the right of your screen when you're logging in, you have those different roles that you may alternate between during the day. And the RP would show release preview with a circle around it, similar to how your sandbox would look. And if you don't have that available in your menu, again, your administrator can request release preview access so that you can start testing things in your release preview account. So I've kind of given a few notes here on that. Whoops, I scrolled a little too fast. A few notes here on that as far as how to request your access. It's fairly simple. It takes just a couple minutes, and there's even an access page that will tell you when your release preview account is available, so you can switch back and forth in your login. And there's a status page, but usually, like I said, this doesn't usually take very long, but there is a status page if multiple clients are requesting release preview at the exact same time. So one of the big ones that came about to me, because I work mostly on the finance team, but I do cross over into the inventory and operations every now and then. So one of the new features right now is in your chart of accounts for your GL, you have your account name and you have your account number prefix. And when you view that on transactions or within your chart of accounts, most of you today will have the number, let's say like 1001, and then out to the side, you may have like your main cash account, cash operating account. With this new enhancement that NetSuite has provided, you can essentially turn off your numbering, which is right now, most of you have this turned on. So this is something that if you have your release preview account set up already, just know if you don't have this accounting preference enabled to use account numbers, you're only going to see like cash account, and then the display name would also be cash account. So for your saved searches, this may be a little bit, I would say if you're used to using the numbers, just make sure you enable this accounting preference. They're trying to make it more standard, across the board for searches, transactions, and so forth. But if you're used to seeing that number prefix, whenever your account is now active for 2021.1, it's an accounting preference, and you would just enable this use account numbers if you want to keep with what you're used to seeing. So another good call out here is kind of more on the vendors, purchases, and receiving side. And all of these notes that I'm going through today are documented in this release notes documents that's on your portal. So if I go to this one, this is another common question that I've had from clients, is that we weren't able to set a default vendor payment account at the vendor level record or the subsidiary level record or even the company level record. So with the votes, with lots of votes for a new enhancement, NetSuite has now made this possible. So now, instead of having to go through, when you're creating these bill payments and vendor prepayments, instead of having to go and select your vendor payment account, now you can actually set this. If you're one world account, you can set this at the subsidiary underneath preferences. And if you want to set this for your company level, you would navigate to the accounting preference and then go to items and transactions, just like you would default payables expense account. So now this vendor payment account is now available with the help of lots of votes from users like you. So another big one for vendors purchasing and receiving, one that I think is going to make everyone's life a lot easier, is in the past, NetSuite, when you were trying to print a vendor bill or a vendor credit, you would essentially have to go into that particular transaction and view that bill and then get a screenshot and then print that screenshot as part of your PDF process for attaching documents. So now with the new upgrade, so this is coming soon, if you're not on the 2021.1 yet. So now going forward, you can actually go into each individual transaction or go to the vendor list page, and you have the ability to print this as a PDF versus having to take these screenshots. So I think this is going to be a huge time saver, and it's going to look more professional versus your screenshots that you have today, because it's feeding off your advanced templates and forms that you already have set currently for these custom forms, for your custom vendor bill forms and your custom vendor credit forms. And additionally, you can now, in your print checks and forms page, you'll now have the option to even print through this page as well. So if different users with different roles have different access levels, but perhaps they have access to this page here, these vendor bills and vendor bill credits will now be available to print with your current PDF templates versus using the screenshot. So here I've kind of shown below, oh, sorry, a little bit too fast. Here I've kind of shown below that you don't have to do this anymore. So going forward, you could print this also from the GL impact page. So there's about 3 different ways that you could go in and print that vendor bill and vendor credit going forward. So a huge time saver for a lot of you, and this has been a long time coming. This is going to be a hot topic, and this is not for the banking section of the release notes. NetSuite is talking about deprecating the reconcile bank statement page, which many of you use, and moving towards the reconcile account statement page in your NetSuite account. So this one is not deprecated yet. And when they say it's coming soon, I don't know if that will be 6 months, a year from now. The timing is unknown at this time. However, if you have the ability or the bandwidth to go in there and learn, the differences, or reach out to us at the Vesta Group to kind of walk through what your options are, since we don't know what this is coming, and it's not for this particular upgrade, but I feel this is definitely a very important call out for many of you, that when you're navigating on your transaction screen to bank and you see that reconcile bank statement, and there's always that link that says reconcile account statement as that new feature. So NetSuite is leaning towards using the reconcile account statement. I just don't know when that's coming. So it's something that I want to make you guys aware of, because I know many of you trust and respect the reconcile bank statement, and sometime in the near future, we will all be using the reconcile account statement. And at the end of the day, the reconcile account statement makes your life easier. It's more automated. And that's what NetSuite's hoping, is to create efficiency for clients nationwide. So inventory management. So for some of our clients use advanced inventory management. Some of our clients use basic bin management. And this particular enhancement for the inventory bin management, I think is pretty awesome. So in the past, if you're using basic bin management versus advanced, you have a lot more flexibility for your lot numbered items, so that you're not, previously you were using a full quantity for each single lot number. And with this enhancement, you're able to allocate your partial quantities across multiple lots and different line items within that inventory, within the line items. So I think for anyone that's using basic bin management, this is just giving you more flexibility if you don't have advanced bin management yet. Okay, so this is another feature that's still fairly new to NetSuite, the invoice groups feature. So they've already got enhancements to this feature, and I don't know how many of you are aware, but the invoice groups feature, I think, came out maybe 2 releases ago, and this is something that many of you have voted on versus trying to use consolidated payments. The invoice groups feature, if you don't know much about that, I kind of want to give a little preview on this. It allows you to group your invoices by customers and even make those payments in invoice groups as well. And it's a fairly simple feature to enable, and it works with consolidated payments if you already are using that. And you're able to group your invoices and your payments just with a quick checkbox and then some testing, and then enabling your customer records. So this here is something that's, like I said, been a long time coming to NetSuite, and they now have enhancements on this, and it's still fairly new. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with this, but now they have new enhancements so that you don't have to have your invoices necessarily associated with a sales order. And when this had first rolled out, you had to have a sales order through the invoice process to use the invoice grouping, and now you're able to basically create these standalone invoices if you choose to without that sales order, and still use this invoice grouping feature. So this is a brand new enhancement, and this process is fairly brand new to NetSuite. And then lastly, I don't know if any of you guys have already started experiencing browser issues with NetSuite. We've had a couple of cases come in. Oh, there might be a Q&A. Hang on one second. Okay, no, I didn't see it. I thought I saw a question come through.
There's
so
one question on the
okay.
new ACH payment functionality. Could you talk about that?
For the electronic payments, or?
For the question is new. Can you talk about the new ACH payment functionality? ACH, not, yeah.
Okay, so with that new ACH payment functionality, and probably someone else on my team would be a better presenter for that, but that's filtering in with your bank feed suite app. And I know there's been enhancements to that suite app within NetSuite to ease the pain for a lot of customers that are dealing with those ACH payments, but I wasn't prepared to discuss that today, and I apologize. That's something I may have to take offline.
Okay, yeah, I'll take down the name.
So lastly, most of you may be already experiencing this with your login where you're getting redirected numerous times. It's actually happening to me because I alternate different browsers throughout the day. And these are the ones that are coming soon in the next release. So it's just something to be aware of. So right now, if you have that lag time when you're changing, changing different pages within NetSuite, or you're being redirected and having to log in again. So it's not deprecated yet for these browsers, but it's something where Microsoft Internet Explorer 11, Microsoft Edge, and then any Safari versions prior to 13.1 may cause issues for you. It may already be starting for you as it is for me, but NetSuite will no longer support these outdated browsers, so you would need to upgrade your Internet Explorer and your Edge and Safari to avoid any interruptions within your NetSuite account. So it's just something to be mindful of. This is another coming soon type item. And that is all I have for the top highlights. I try to keep it at 6. There's probably many more. And but those are like my top 6 favorites where I feel would benefit most of you, just with the different kinds of questions and cases we receive throughout the year.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kristen. That was great. All right, Chris Johnson will be introducing our next presenter, so I'll pass it over to him.
All right, thank you. So before I jump into SAM's and Tesorio's, I just want to make sure everybody's aware that, we all, as NetSuite users, we all know that upgrades are a blessing and a curse. They're awesome because I get new stuff. It's like a little bit like Christmas for nerds. But it's also difficult because it requires some testing, right? So we got to go back and understand, what's new, how does that impact my existing instance. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that the Vestor Group has an offering that we will actually do that for you. So we'll identify what are the things that are different between your existing instance and the new stuff and the upgrade, and then kind of help you do the testing. So check with JP about that. He's the first line of defense for that process. So he can kind of help you get started down there. So if you hate testing like everybody in the world, we can do that for you. All right, so moving on to Sam. So Sam Turrell is with Tesorio. And if you guys have been around the Vestor Group for a while, you know that part of my role is to go look out in the world of all the partners that are out there and identify which ones do the best job of filling gaps in NetSuite. What are we hearing from clients that are major gaps that they need help with, and who does a great job. So Tesorio is one of those places that has filled a big need that we hear a lot, which is cash flow management, cash flow forecasting, in a pretty simple way. So Tesorio is a new partner for ours. We're excited about working with Sam and his team. And I think that Sam is going to have an offer that is going to make your ears perk up. So Sam, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you get started.
Awesome. Perfect. Thanks so much, Chris. And thanks everyone for having me today. Really excited to be presenting. I've got a couple slides that I'll go through just to give you guys a little bit of background about the company, and then we'll actually spend the most of our time jumping through the application and demonstration today. So just again, a reintroduction. My name is Sam Turrell. I'm a sales director at Tesorio. I've been with the company for about 3 years, a little over 3 years now, and actually do come from a background of finance and accounting myself. I worked in corporate treasury at Cisco Systems in the investments team there for about 4 years, where I myself was actually responsible for the corporate cash flow forecast. So it was quite an easy transition for me to come over to the sales side, and I'm very familiar with some of the different pain points that finance, accounting, and treasury teams really deal with when it comes to managing cash flow. Traditionally, most companies are doing it directly out of Excel, trying to extract some certain aspects out of ERP systems and also using bank data. And so what Tesorio is set out to do is to help eliminate some of that manual work. And I've been able to leverage kind of my background to help resonate with clients in some of those pain points. So jumping right in terms of the company, a little bit of background. So we are using the term cash flow performance as opposed to cash flow management. The reason behind that is because at the end of the day, one thing is to be able to accurately forecast your cash flow. It's an important skill set. The other is to actually be able to take action on your cash flow, right? To be able to accelerate cash coming into the business, to be able to customize your cash flows. Obviously, at the end of the day, better manage, predict, and collect cash. So we're coining it as cash flow performance. We're very well connected with the NetSuite ecosystem. We've been around the NetSuite business for since 2016. We've been named NetSuite Suite Cloud Partner of the Year. We also have a large partnership with Bank of America. I'm sure many of you understand the reasons right behind integrating your bank accounts also with some of your ERP data. So we've been able to launch a big partnership with Bank of America and are actually their forecasting solution partner for about 35,000 clients. In addition to that, our SaaS product in itself, we boast a fairly high NPS score. Yeah, have some really happy clients. I've got a couple of resources that I can send and provide the group after the fact of this presentation. So diving in just a little bit to cash flow performance, again, as I mentioned, it's not really a familiar term. At the end of the day, you've got different systems in place when it comes to trying to create a cash flow forecast. You may have your core ERP system, you may have Salesforce data, you may have a custom billing system, and then of course you've got your bank accounts, right? And so at the end of the day, we have this platform layer, and that's this green bar at the bottom. And how Tesorio works is we connect with your different systems, and then from there, we have additional products that go directly on top of that platform layer. So we have clients that are just using us solely for a cash flow direct product, which is what I'll be spending the most of our time today. But we also have an accounts receivable automation platform. We've got a payment solution. So when it comes to sending invoices out and giving clients a customer payment portal, we have a payment portal there. And then for some of our banking partners, we have a supply chain finance product. And again, the reason why all three of these seem to be connected is kind of something which I've experienced in the past, is you generally in finance organizations, especially as you look to grow, some of the different teams do get siloed, and aspects from the accounts receivable team or the accounts payable team can have a fairly big impact when they get updates on promise to pay dates or vendor bills on the actual cash flow forecast. And so giving the various finance teams that we work with today the ability to update various aspects of their own workflows and having that flow directly into one cash flow forecasting solution is incredibly important and crucial. The reason behind why we do what we do at the end of the day, I think like many of you know, there is automation in place in the finance ecosystem now, right? And however, there hasn't always been that same type of automation in the past. And so with cash flow forecasting, traditionally, you see companies are downloading bank files, they're downloading ERP data, you've got billing data, and these systems tend to be disconnected, and you end up doing your consolidation directly in NetSuite, or sorry, directly in Excel. However, at the end of the day, there's a couple issues with that, right? One, it's time consuming. You're spending a ton of time downloading data that you don't even have the ability to analyze the data and understand what's going on. Two, it's error prone, right? Like many traditional finance processes today, if you're managing things directly out of Excel or Google Sheets, you do want to override in a past quarter's forecast, and that can have a fairly large impact, right, on your forecasting. So you want to make sure you've got all of the accurate data. Three, traditional forecasting can be imprecise. I won't get too into the weeds of this, but there's a couple different ways to forecast cash flow. The first is an indirect method where it's basically looking at your income statement. The second is a direct method forecast, and that's what Tesorio specializes in. And direct method forecasts, if you were trying to do it in Excel, you would literally have to go through customer by customer on each of your individual customer payments and transactions, vendor by vendor, to forecast out from a bottoms up view. And that's incredibly time consuming, and also can be not very accurate too. And then last but not least, as many of you guys know, and as Chris alluded to, right, at the end of the day, NetSuite is fantastic for being your core ERP system. It's not built for cash flow forecasting, right? It's not built for some of these other components that Tesorio can help out with. Our integrations, as I mentioned today, we work in the mid-market space in general, but again, where you've got different data sources when it comes to cash flow forecasting. So custom billing systems, sometimes you may have payment processors, payments come in, sometimes you've got data in Salesforce too. So we connect with all of these via different API connections. We do have a built for NetSuite API. And then last but not least, some of the clients that we work with today, generally, we work in the software technology space fairly well. We're making a large push into manufacturing, into other industries now. As many of you know, cash flow forecasting is important for almost every industry and every CFO. So we work with a variety of clients, some of those large publicly traded companies, others may be less than 10 million in revenue, 100 employees, and they've only got one accounting manager that's helping manage some of the cash flow aspects. And then lastly, just a couple slides, and I'll share with these after. It's just some sales proof. We've been named fastest to implement, easiest to use by a couple G2 Crowd recent reviews, and have been a leader in that mid-market space. So with that being said, I'll jump straight into the demonstration, and I want to pull up my window to see if there's any Q&A. Okay, good. Can everyone see my the demo app? Okay, get a thumbs up from the panelists, maybe. Perfect. Awesome, guys. So diving into Tesorio and how we sit directly on top of NetSuite. So we're pulling data directly from NetSuite, right, and from your different systems. And when you come to our homepage and landing page, it's going to be a dashboard. And just to give you a quick navigation here, and the product I'll focus on today is the forecast. But on the left-hand side here, you can see we've got my homepage and dashboard. We've got an inbox that's for kind of accounting teams to be able to see communications with clients and vendors. We've got the forecasting workspaces, which I'll spend the majority of my time today. We've got the ability to dive into your invoices and customers. Obviously, at the end of the day, when it comes down to cash flow forecasting, one of the most volatile components of forecasting can be cash collections coming from customers. And so a large invoice, if it's $1 million, $10 million, $100,000, $10,000, it can, at the end of the day, have a fairly significant impact on your forecast. So you want to make sure you've got up-to-date and accurate information there. Similar on the outflow view, right? At the end of the day, if you do look at a direct method cash flow forecasting statement, you'll have cash receipts from customers and then cash payments to suppliers, right? So we're able to bring in all of your bills and vendors and all of those details and information into the application. We've got campaigns. I won't touch on that today. Tesorio has a flexible dunning solution. I don't know who came up with the word dunning. It's probably the least attractive name of a financial product. But at the end of the day, right, being able to automatically send invoice follow-ups in a customized manner. Tesorio has some functionality there. We've got goal setting. We've got advanced reporting and insights, which are more like automated alerts. Some foreign exchange components. Obviously, it ties to multinational companies. Payments is we've got a portal, and then advanced user permissions and controls. This comes in handy when you end up giving your CFO a seat on Tesorio, right? You probably don't want them to accidentally email a customer about an invoice payment, right? So what we can do is create different types of user and permissions and controls throughout the application for different users. So again, right, the functionality on the left-hand side. Throughout the demo today, I'll just refer to this aspect that Tesorio has built. It's called workspaces. Think of workspaces as a series of saved searches. Here you've got the ability to go ahead and click Manage Dashboard. Throughout the application itself, you can manage Tesorio's various products, right, by currency, by location, by department, by subsidiary, by assignee in some cases if you've got multiple people touching some of the forecasting or AR processes. A quick overview of the homepage and dashboard, and then I'll jump into a workspace to show you how we can build a collections forecast from the ground up, and then a payables forecast from the ground up, and then I'll jump into our kind of landing cash flow direct of how everything rolls up together. So throughout the app, again, I mentioned there's some aspects of AR automation, some aspects of cash flow management to some extent. Here you've got a collections forecast as a high level, how much cash you're collecting versus what's expected to come into the business. We've got an AR aging breakdown. We've got cash trends. Cash trends, I put this example maybe into context, is if your customers are paying you on average of 10 or 15 days past due, but you're paying all of your vendors on time, right? There's a mismatch there in the working capital side. And working capital, especially over the last year, has been incredibly important for CFOs, controllers, and treasurers. So again, these aspects, while they don't necessarily completely tie to forecasting, what they do is give you the bigger picture vision, and that's part of the cash flow performance category that we are running with. Bottom of the screen here, you've got things like mispromise to pay date. So if customers make promises and you update your forecast with a promise to pay date and they miss, well, now that's gonna change your forecast, right? So we wanna automatically notify teams when they have mispromise to pays. We've got at-risk customers. At the end of the day, bad debt potential is incredibly important from a financial perspective. So making sure you can identify which customers may not be making those large invoice payments and having those flow directly back into our forecast. Cash balances are obviously a critical component to cash flow forecasting. And then bottom right, we've got invoice tags, and this applies to vendor tags too. At the end of the day, everyone goes through month end and quarter end close on the finance side, and quite often you may have questions coming down to say, hey, why was cash collections higher than it's been in the past last month? And we have data and insights from a tagging mechanism to give you a better understanding, right, of the reasons why behind cash is delayed, and then that can obviously help inform some of your forecasting. So again, a quick overview of the dashboard. Next, guys, I'm going to jump directly in, and just to call out here, when you apply filters, right, I've got this workspace. You can create save searches for these different views. I'll jump into our invoices workspace, and inside the application of Tesorio, again, I mentioned before, we're pulling in all the different aspects of data that tie into your cash flow forecasts, right? So here, from a perspective of cash inflows, one of the most volatile components, right, of cash flow, you've got customers and you've got invoices, right? And sometimes companies that do have a higher volume invoice business, you may have multiple invoices open at any given point in time from those customers. And those customers all have similar payment patterns, or each customer, may have similar payment patterns for each of their open invoices. So in this workspace, you can see up top just a quick navigation again with the page. You can see your invoices, your customers, your credit memos, your payments. Again, all of these flow directly into the forecast to the final product. So I'll call that out. In this view, I'm showing the workspace of Deborah's accounts. So if you are an AR manager, an AR team, and you want to go and break up your customers and accounts and invoices and promise to pay dates by collector, you can do so. Alternatively, if you wanted to view things from just an all customers approach, right, you can now see I've got 231 customers. I've got the balance of that AR broken down across the aging buckets. Here's a quick example. If you wanted to go in and assign an unassigned account directly to a specific team member, you can do so very quickly and easily via our assign need functionality. And now I'll actually start walking you through a quick example just of how we can get a little deeper into the data and then see when invoices are expected to be paid. So in this example, I've got a custom workspace. All of these columns too, guys, you can completely customize. So in this managed workspace, you can see here I've got different customer details. You may have custom fields in NetSuite. We can bring in all of your custom fields. You've got the ability to sort all of these. And then also you have the ability to add in additional columns, right? So you can actually come through, completely customize these tables. What we're trying to get folks out of Excel at the end of the day, we do understand finance and accounting is living and breathing in Excel. So we've made all of these tables downloadable into a CSV file format for forecasting purposes. Awesome. So quick navigation there of the customization. I'll start walking through the customer names here. And probably for the sake of time, I won't do the same view on the bill and vendor side, but I do want to call out, right, that we've got the ability to tag different types of transactions and different types of customers. So here you can see I've got enterprise customer Microsoft. They've got total invoices 28 open invoices for a balance of 1.7 million. If I'm Microsoft, or if I'm an AR manager, or I'm a treasury analyst and I'm coming through and I'm like, hey, what's going on with this balance that's 120 days past due for Microsoft? That sounds pretty high, right? I can click directly into that balance, and it's actually going to now pull up those 4 invoices that are in that aging bucket. And here's where we tie directly to some of the forecasts. Now, to re-navigate you again with the page, I've gone through from my customer page, and now you'll see top left, I'm in my invoicing section. I can see that I've got 4 invoices for Microsoft. If I wanted to filter these by balance really quickly, I can do so, right? I can just go ahead and click apply. And now I'm going to try and get a little bit of understanding as to what's going on with Microsoft, right? So you can see I've got the customer name, I've got the invoice balance, I've got an invoice date and then a due date. And then clearly Microsoft is severely past due here, right? I've got how many beyond terms these invoices are. But what Tesorio does in tying to the forecasting for both bills and customers, we generate predictions, right? And those predictions are actually based at the customer level, based off of how those customers have paid you in the past. We'll look at all of your NetSuite data. We'll run that data directly through a machine learning and analytics engine. That engine is the same engine that's actually being used by Bank of America's corporate treasury client base. What we do with that data is then we spit out a prediction. And this prediction, you can see at the invoice level, and you can see a prediction confidence interval and our original predictions. Now, as some of you may be familiar with, customers, sometimes for invoices and bills, sometimes with vendors, right, you can make assumptions about when those customers are going to make payments. And Tesorio will give you a prediction, but let's say you actually get on the phone with Microsoft And you speak with the AP manager over there, and they tell you, you know what, Sam, we're not going to make a payment on these invoices until like the 21st, right? And they may even say they never paid, or they never even received those invoices in the first place. They may be disputing. So Tesorio has an invoice tagging mechanism too, and I don't think my tags are enabled here. Yep, there they are. So I can bring these tags, and again, that same type of aspect of how you can track different delay reasons as the reasons why customers may not be paying or why you may not have paid a vendor bill. You can see that this customer may have been disputing this invoice, right? Now, alternative or other delay reasons that we run into is sometimes like a client may just be like, hey, you know what, Sam, we never even received the invoice in the first place. You had the wrong billing contact, okay? So why is this tied to cash flow? Well, at the end of the day, if this customer now has given you a promise to pay date of the 21st, that's now fallen out of the quarter if you're on a calendar quarter, right? So now your cash flow forecast may be off by, a couple $100,000 here in this case. Let's say you needed to actually collect that cash, and you were in a cash crunch and you're a CFO and you're like, I need to collect as much cash as possible. How Tesorio also ties, again, to the bigger picture of cash flow performance is we also have a collections functionality, right? So you see here, you've got send emails. We're connected directly with Gmail and Outlook, your own email instance. You've got my good buddy Bill Gates and AP at Microsoft, right? I can select a template here, which automatically populates some text. Tesorio has our own invoice generation functionality where you can see company logo and a custom invoice template. And then you can attach the invoices straight from NetSuite, and then you just click send emails. So tying that workflow back, one, you have the ability for, again, sometimes when you have different finance teams that can be siloed, they've got different aspects are coming directly through from the different teams. So they've got collections forecast is going to impact the cash flow. You've got the vendor forecast from the AP side. When are you expecting to pay certain bills? So you have the ability to make the updates directly here inside the application, and then that flows directly into our forecast. And so I will jump, and I'll just show you a quick view of the vendor side of the house, and then I'll jump it straight into the forecast to show you how everything rolls up. So again, here, that same type of aspect of showing you open bills or of open invoices, we have the ability to show you open bills. Here in this workspace, I remember I made a comment before, you may have different ways to track customers and vendors, right? You may have some vendors that you're gonna pay them like 90 days past due because they're not gonna shut off your service, you're a critical customer to them. There's other vendors that you may need to pay on time, like rent, right? Obviously you need to make that payment on time. AWS, right? Maybe your servers. So different technology service providers that you work with, right? You've got to pay those certain bills. So you can actually track your different vendors directly inside of the application too. So we don't compete with AP automation solutions by any means, right? We don't process payments through Tesorio's application. Again, what we do is give you the ability to see all of your vendors, all of your bills, when you're expected to make payments for both of those, and tie those together, obviously, with the AR forecasting. And then you've got Tesorio's Cash Flow Direct. So to recap that, again, we just went through kind of a quick view of the dashboard, how some of the dashboards and workspaces flow directly into this application. So Tesorio's Cash Flow Direct product that I'm now viewing is separate from our AR platform and the payments platform. We do have some companies that are just purely using Tesorio for cash flow forecasting. So when you come directly inside the forecast workspace, you can see here I've got a variety of different line items, right? And I think just to call out, there's so many different line items that matter to different companies today, right? So some may be cash receipts from customers, others may be very heavy on the AP and cash outflow side, right? So the need for customization and cash flow forecasting is incredibly high, and you need a tool that's also directly integrated. Most teams need a tool or prefer to have a tool that's directly integrated with your ERP system. So I'll show you here, this workspace that I'm viewing is in a monthly view. We can take a look at it from a weekly perspective too. Many companies today do like to go ahead and forecast on a 13-week, right, from a quarterly perspective, but you have the ability to go through on a monthly basis. One other aspect I'll dive into, which may be helpful, you've got a way to generate a forecast and again, have everything roll up directly here into the app. But if you wanted to actually come through and generate just a monthly cash inflow or monthly cash outflow forecast, I can come directly here. You see this workspace says collections forecast. It says show me all invoices, right, with a predicted pay date from the 1st of March to the 31st of March. Okay, so how do I get to this screen? well, I show all my invoices here, ranked by balance. And then you can see days from now, the invoice, some of the filtering that we can do, and date range. If I wanted to do, instead of that, you could use a due date forecast, right? And say, hey, if every single one of our customers paid us on time, what would we expect to collect, or what should we collect? You're never going to do forecasting from an AR or AP standpoint that way, just because customers don't make payments on their due dates in general, unless you have auto pay, and that will be captured. Date range here. So if I wanted to do, the 1st to the 31st, I apply those filters. I go ahead and click apply, and now I've got a collections forecast for the month of March. For each of these forecasts, guys, you can come in directly. You can share these forecasts. Again, the workspace functionality, what that enables you to do is create different views. So maybe you have a 1 month, a 2 month, a 3 month, or maybe you may have like a rolling forecast, right? Days from now, okay? In the next 7 days, how many invoices or how much dollars am I expected to collect? And again, as you go through this forecast, because we have some customers that manage just forecasting from this perspective, you can go through, you can select these 3 invoices for $750K, and you're like, I know these customers really well, and I know they're not going to make a payment on time. They're probably going to make a payment on the 15th. Again, what that happens as you update those promise to pay dates here, that flows back into our summary dashboard chart, which I showed you, and then flows directly into our forecast. So what this view is a finished product, and then I'll walk you through just some of the line items here, how we can adjust what we call drivers, which is an important aspect of cash flow forecasting, and then I'll show you just briefly how we can build a forecast. So weekly, monthly, we have the ability to drill down by currency, by department, by location, by subsidiary. Here we've got the forecast is enabled, and again, you can see directly here inside of Tesorio the different line items. Now, these line items can be completely customized. And from these, you can actually map your GL accounts directly to line items. So it's a customizable cash flow forecast. You can see I've got past actuals. If I wanted to click directly on these and see the underlying transactions, I can do so. If I also wanted to make adjustments to the Tesorio generated forecast, I can do so directly inside of the application. And there's a couple different ways we can do this, right? So let's just say I wanted to go ahead and say, hey, in the past, it was like 25 in September of last year. I know, for the month of March, I expect it's going to be 28 million. I can enter that directly here, and then I can forward that with a growth rate. If I wanted to make a basic assumption of saying, hey, we've got a linear business and it's going to grow at 10%, okay? But for many companies, that isn't necessarily the case. You see here, that's gone through and directly now updated all of my forecasts moving forward for the week or for the month in that case. But using that type of forecasting isn't always helpful. And you may want to make one-time assumptions. So using, some analytics may work well for cash receipts from customers and cash disbursements for vendors, but you're probably, not going to apply machine learning to your payroll, right? You're not going to apply some analytics directly to interest expense if you're carrying debt. And so what you can come in and do is make individual single cell adjustments directly through the app. Now, in addition to coming through and making some adjustments here, we've also got what's called forecast drivers. And forecast drivers enables you to come through and actually compare different types of scenarios. And this is really important. It's what a lot of companies do. I don't want to say it's overkill, but I do say if you really do need to get a lot more accurate with cash flow forecasting, then being able to compare different scenarios is really important, right? So coming through here directly, you've got, we call our own machine learning Tesorio science. But at the end of the day, you may want to use a trailing average, or you may want to use same as prior month and apply a growth rate. So you actually have the ability here to come through and compare different scenarios. And then whenever you select whichever scenario you would choose to go forward with, that is now going to populate directly here in the app. Up top, you will see here, you've got the ability to now see cash inflows and cash outflows from a consolidated basis. And then down below, we've got beginning cash, reconciliations, reconciled cash, and net cash flow. So this is the finished product again. This is how you get to kind of the end product. I've described how the cash receipts flow directly in, the cash payments flow directly in from the AR and AP. But from a treasury perspective, there's a lot more to a cash flow forecast, right? There's the ability, as I mentioned, to come in and customize, to add payroll, to add tax payments, to add rent. And so here we have the ability to come through and now manage categories. And so using the forecast categories and Tesorio's managed categories functionality, this is actually how you would build your forecast. So you can see here, I've got different categories with underlying transactions in each. We can group by GL accounts. We can group by customers and vendors. right? So you could go through and select all of your customers, and you're going to say that's going to be a cash receipt from customers. Now, if you've got partners and resellers and you may want to split those out, you could come through and create your own line item here. Cash disbursements to vendors. You may want to take a look at all of your vendors coming through directly. Payroll, right? You, instead of using vendors or customers, you're going to use GL accounts for payroll. So what you can do throughout the application here is really customize your own mapping of transactions and have that then flow directly through and roll into Tesorio's Cashflow Direct. Other examples, right? Tax, rent, advertising, office expenses, and G&A. That's a quick view again of how you can create and customize these. You can come through here, you can add sources. How do you add sources? Well, you can come through and actually say, search for keywords, right? I think it's another important thing. When you come in to build the aspect of a cash flow forecast, one of the benefits of being directly integrated with NetSuite is we can search for keywords, we can search for subsidiaries, we can search for count types, right? We can also search for currency. And once you go ahead, you can apply these settings and then make those adjustments here. With each of these, you can go ahead and move around the rows. You can go ahead, create new categories, and then again, you come through directly and map some of your transactions. And I've made a few adjustments here, so when I close out, we may get a little bit of a funky forecast, as it may not be exactly the same as I created it. But yeah, that is a quick demonstration. Obviously, I think I went through kind of the dashboard there, the workspace, the summary product of how we can work through invoice level predictions and bill level predictions, and then how they come directly to our cash flow forecasting. And it looks like, yeah, I triggered the demo a little bit there. But anyways, I will stop there. That's kind of the majority of the demo I wanted to go through. See if there's any questions. I'm not sure if there's any Q&A, and if not, hopefully this was helpful for the group here to take a look at Tesorio's cash forecasting product.
Yes, and there was one question. Is this within NetSuite, or does the information get sent to your website?
Yeah, great question. So this is, all the data comes directly from NetSuite and additional sources, but it's at Tesorio is an application that sits directly on top of NetSuite. So it's similar with many other partners and products. You can download our application directly from the Suite App Store. We've got a fast connect implementation service where we can actually get up and running in a matter of days as opposed to weeks. That's partly due to the details of our NetSuite integration. I can actually come through here and I can ping this to the group. This may be a pretty helpful resource for the team just to show everyone. Let me see my comments here, or chat panel, more chat. Some additional details in terms of Tesorio's integration with NetSuite. And here again, I can screen share really briefly, but we've got a help center which describes the nature of our integration. Again, you've got the bank transactions coming directly through, but then you've got the AR data, the AP data. We do have a two-way API connection for some aspects of our application. An example of that is, let's say you do have a member of your AR team inside the app and they speak to this customer, and you want to go ahead and take a note of that communication. You can say, spoke with AP manager, not making payment until next month, right? The second you add that note directly in Tesorio, that pushes straight back to NetSuite. In addition to that, you can come directly through. You can view your PDFs, or your invoice PDFs, and then you can actually click directly through. In this case, it says Zora, to your source of truth for that data source. So click directly back into NetSuite if you wish.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you guys so much for the time. Hopefully this was helpful. Again, a quick summary demonstration. Chris, I'm not sure if you guys send out like a follow-up email with contact information. My email is sam@tesorio.com. So if there's any follow-up questions, you'd like to schedule a Tesorio demonstration, you can submit that via our website or reach out to me directly. And yeah, I wanted to say thank you guys so much in the Vesta Group for having me today.
Thank you, Sam. We're going to be doing this the third Thursday of the third month in each quarter. So easy to remember. So the next one is June 17th. Yes, June 17th. So we'll start prepping for that. Any recommendations, any ideas, what you guys would like to see, please let us know. We're welcoming the feedback. We'll send out Sam's information If you want to look at Tesorio and cash flow forecasting, if you have any questions for us, my contact is James Mack at The Vested, and we'll include that in the email as well. Hope everyone had a great St. Patrick's Day, and if you're going on spring break or vacation this week, which seems like everybody is, hope you enjoy it, and we will see you soon.